Let's bring in Democrat from California, member of Congress, Khanna. Good to see you, sir.
Always good to see you, Chris.
What is your take on seeing what ABC just did with Jimmy Kimmel? We understand the structure of law and of different responsibilities in the FCC and standards and guardrails. None of that exists on social media. Whether people like this call or not, nobody's saying it's a call that can't be made. Is it time for you guys to rethink the Internet Decency Act that you passed 30 years ago in light of the fact that there is no decency on social media?
Sure, Chris. We need to pass the Kids Online Safety Act. We need to revise Section 230 not to have blanket immunity. We shouldn't have algorithms that are feeding junk and rage to young people, radicalizing them. I agree with a lot of what Governor Cox said, and I introduced an Internet Bill of Rights proposing a lot of this back in 2017. Folks said, oh, you're a tech guy, you're talking about tech issues. No, I was talking about democracy issues, and I hope now people have woken up to that and will take action on a bipartisan basis on that.
So what do you think to Bill O'Reilly, who says, no, you won't? You'll never change it because it's different than big corporations, and you guys don't have the stomach for this type of debate.
Well, social media shouldn't be treated like big corporations because there are millions of people, and there's no way that you can have standards on millions of people. But we can do things that make it better than the cesspool that exists now. You can say that if you are providing suicidal thoughts to young girls or feeding them content about eating disorders, that you need to stop. You can say that you can't take people's data and manipulate it to have them get fed contents of rage. You can have a standard in terms of getting rid of the bots, which are responsible. About 30 to 40% of the hate are bots. You can certainly clear that up. You could have algorithmic transparency so people know how they are being manipulated and have the choice of getting a feed that is chronological as opposed to selected for outrage. There are a lot of things you can do without infringing speech. We just haven't ever had the debate. Frankly, it hasn't been important enough to a president or to a Congress. It's kind of been thought, that's a tech issue. There's the tech guy talking about it. Now people are realizing, no, this is an issue of radicalization of young people. It's a democracy issue. We need to get it under control.
Or is the state of play really just to figure out how to play it to advantage? Case in point, here's my allegation, Mr. Khanna. Democrats never cared about Epstein when you had the power to do anything about it. And now you think it's a thorn in Trump's side. So all of a sudden, Khanna is all about protecting kids from trafficking and finding the bad guys that were involved with Epstein. You had a whole administration to do it. You did nothing. I see it as opportunistic.
Well, we spoke out about it in 2019. I have social media tweets talking about having a full investigation into what happened with Epstein under Elijah Cummings, who was the oversight chair. And then under Biden, there were releases, but then Donald Trump campaigned on it. And he said that, there's one side of justice for the rich and powerful men. And we need to release the files. J.D. Vance said that. And when he came into office, people didn't criticize him. We said, okay. Then Pam Bondi says, okay, we're going to release the file. There's a clients list. And then she doesn't do it. When Thomas Massie and I introduced the bipartisan legislation, I actually thought Donald Trump was going to get behind it. I thought this was an area where we were working across the aisle. I don't understand why he doesn't want to release these files. And by the way, supporting this is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Supporting it is Nancy Mace. Supporting it is Lauren Boebert. And whether you think we're too late or not, the reality is, as a country, we've been too late for 15 years. The survivors have spoken, and now we're coming together, and they want justice, and there shouldn't be a different rule for rich and powerful people who did this to innocent young girls. And this is the time to get justice. So criticize us for being late to it, but why not come together as a country and actually get this done? And I don't understand why the president just doesn't release the files. It seems to be such a no-brainer.
That's the part. I don't believe he has anything to release, and I don't know that you believe it either, Ro. This is about the only case you have, and we just heard it from Kash Patel. He's got his own problem. He was a pod bro who benefited from the social media, cesspool, and he just said whatever would get clicks and make him something. Now he's got accountability, so he says, oh, there's nothing there. But it's only about the judges that sealed certain things, and your partner on this, Mr. Massey, says there are at least 20 men who were trafficked women by Epstein. Kash Patel says there's no proof of that. One, do you back what Massey said? And two, it's not about Trump. It's about the judges. So why don't you go to court?
Well, he could release the witness memos. He could release the interviews. The victim's lawyer has seen these files, so I know the files exist. Now, he could make an argument that he doesn't want to release these because he's concerned that people in these files were not charged and they will get caught up in having their reputations besmirched. And if he would just said that, at least be honest, I'd disagree with him and I'd say, let's,
he did say
because of the case, get this out there. Well,
he did say
then they exist. You can't have you can't have both arguments. You can't have Kash Patel out there saying they don't exist and then saying, no, they exist, but the reason we aren't releasing them is because we don't want people who are in the files and weren't charged to be exposed. The reality is they exist. I know that for a fact. Kash Patel in the past has said that they have 300 gigabytes of these files. I think they should be released. I think there are people who definitely were involved in the cover-up of Epstein. You have the British ambassador who got sacked because of the release, who was basically pleading for Epstein to get less of a sentence. Now, whether there were other people involved in abusing underage girls, I don't know. I don't like speculating about things I don't know. What I do know is that the files should be released and the American people should get to make that determination, and there should be accountability.
You should call Alan Dershowitz. You know him well. He says the judges sealed it. They do not have access to it in the federal government because it was sealed, and that is the fight to have. It's not about what Trump doesn't want to give. And look, I do not like you putting me in a position to defend what Donald Trump said about the Epstein situation. But, what's right is right. Go after the judges. That's the end of this. But I just don't believe it takes us anywhere, and it does seem to play into the toxicity of the dialogue, because this patina is, we're about the kids. We're about punishing people who get away with power and privilege. I don't think that's what it's about. I think it's about being a pain in the ass to the administration. And I think there are better ways to do it.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what it's about, because certainly Marjorie Taylor Greene or Nancy Mace or Lauren Boebert wouldn't join that. I mean, they were in tears hearing the survivors. I mean, they don't want to punish this administration. And with due respect to Dershowitz, I mean, he's been tied up in all of this. You know, Dershowitz has been tied up with all of this. I mean, he had a defamation suit against. I'm not saying that he
represented him.
Yeah, but
he represented him, and he was never found liable for anything.
I totally agree. I'm saying he was tied up in the representation of this. And so he's not exactly an honest broker here in terms of not having an interest in the matter. But one thing I do want to say, and I want to make this point, for an administration that railed against cancel culture, they're certainly canceling a lot of people. And I love Bill O'Reilly. But what about all the people who complained when Bill O'Reilly was canceled from Fox? What about all the people who complained, Chris, when you were canceled from CNN? What about all these people, Vance and others, who are complaining about cancel culture, now telling people that call up kids' employers and get them fired, and defending the firing of Jimmy Kimmel because he made an erroneous statement? What happened to free speech? Like, this administration has just forgotten about it.
Listen, I think it's all about advantage. And when it works for you, you want to protect it. And when it doesn't, you want to punish it. And I think that's a fair thing to call out. And I believe there's a need for more standards about it. And the ping pong happens all the time, and it is disgusting to watch. But Khanna, I believe you to be a fair broker. And I appreciate you, and I'm here to test you, and I thank you for taking the opportunity.
I always enjoy it, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.